want to talk about some news that dropped. The Athletic dropped a bombshell article on the Browns. Um, we talked about Tommy Rees in there being named offensive coordinator, but more importantly, there's just a ton of dysfunction in Berea that will come to no surprise to any Browns fan. The Deshaun Watson thing was a fiasco. How they treated him while he was here was a bit of a fiasco. There's some mud getting slung at Stefanski. It seems like the same old Browns. Noah, I let you get started last time. Eric, you want to kick us off this time? Give us your thoughts on the Athletic article and some of the fallout that you expect as a result.
Where to start, right? Um, I mean, there were a lot of surprising things here. I think the most surprising. Let me step back because there weren't a lot of surprising. I think it kind of checkmarked and verified a lot of things that fans had thought and projected. Maybe not necessarily things that we knew for sure. The one piece that really surprised me, though, was that Stefanski was unwilling to even criticize on film um, his quarterback in Deshaun. That's weird to me. I don't get that at all, honestly. Even if he's your guy, I don't know that I couldn't get over that part of it. In terms of naming Tommy Rees to offensive coordinator, uh, Notre Dame guy, by the way, former Notre Dame quarterback. He seems to be a decent a guy. I mean, several people around the league have given this guy roles, so clearly he's well regarded. He's a young guy, and I actually think that's good in an offensive coordinator kind of role. I like a young guy in that role. Obviously, he brings ideas and plays to that playbook. But the question, once again, hanging over all of our heads is how is ownership going to hamstring us? And does it even matter? At this point, it seems like we're able to kind of move on from Deshaun Watson. The timing of the article, Deshaun once again tears his Achilles for the second time in the same year. Clearly, he's going to be out next year. Um, Clearly, Browns are looking to move on. I will say that there's a lot of conjecture that they could get out of that contract because he wasn't wearing a boot. He uploaded a dance video, et cetera, et cetera. I will say don't count on that. The NFL Players Union is vicious. Aaron Hernandez was already convicted of killing two people, and they still went after the Patriots for trying to get out of paying him his bonuses. And you can't really get on the bad side of the union either because then they tell their players, "Hey, don't go play for the Browns." Like it's just a bad situation. So I wouldn't count on Deshaun not getting paid. But at this point, it's clear that we're ready to move on. How does that take place? Was this article now written and some things released because of that? And it sheds further light too on clearly Garrett's pissed. I understand his take because he's seeing all of this in the locker room. It's a fractured locker room. It really makes you wonder how does Stefanski continue to be head coach? And I know all three of us, I think, like Stefanski. I think he's a decent coach, but he's clearly lost the locker room, and I know that's Deshaun's fault and ownership's fault. But I don't know where we go from here.
Yeah, I want to jump in here real quick. There's a lot of um, arching thoughts I have off of what you said. The first thing I want to go after is Tommy Rees because I want to break down some of my thoughts on that signing. He was the OC in Alabama the year Jalen Milroe broke out. That makes me scratch my head a little bit to see if, Milroe falls second or third round. Maybe we take him as a developmental guy now because Tommy Rees knows him, got the most out of him stat wise. Will that happen? Remains to be seen. But it's something I want to at least, put the bookmark in there for now and maybe return to after the NFL draft. He's been co-signed by Saban, thought about going with Vrabel over to the Patriots. That was a rumor for a while. I hope this addition really brings in some youthful eyes on some of the offense. I think that's one of Kevin Stefanski's knocks, right? Is that he hasn't been able to freshen up some of the playbook, even if he goes back to the outside zone and the play action stuff he's good at. So that's what I think about Tommy Rees. We'll see. I don't know a bunch about him. It's an offensive coordinator hire at the end of the day. To me, though, Eric, I think you interpreted the Athletic article, you explained it extremely well. To me, it almost feels more like the Haslams are the problem. And I'm not trying to scapegoat this because I've been on record supporting Kevin Stefanski before, but it feels to me more so as it was a Haslam's thing of, you better not destroy the $1 million quarterback's confidence. So he wasn't criticizing him. When you think about some of the stuff that we're hearing out of the locker room, aside from this Athletic article from Jason Lloyd, it's a great piece again, by the way, you should definitely go read it if you can, is all of the verbiage, all of the words coming out of the locker room after the end of the season, basically saying that Stefanski is still thought of highly here. It's just shit hit the fan, and now shit hit the fan. That's my thoughts. That's how I interpreted it. My favorite quote in all of this is Joe Flacco picked up the offense in 30 days quicker than Deshaun Watson did in 2 years.
Yeah. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years already.
Right.
It's
3 now. It's 3 now, man.
This is such a disaster, but it's so on brand for the Browns. First things first, Tommy Rees, good for him. Congratulations. I hope you do well. I'll be rooting for you. I don't know who this guy is. I hope it works. My thoughts are with no quarterback, it's not going to matter. So we got to figure it out there. So I'm going to jump into the rest of this. The Browns hiding Watson's struggles, the fact that he wasn't dropping back deep enough, and they're not calling him out in film sessions, it just reeks of a poorly run organization. And to one of our previous conversations, I feel like the house is burning down, and we're talking about things and places where we're like, oh, you know, what China set should we get? Or what are we going to do about a living room couch? And I'm like, the house is burning down. Like, let's put the fire out and then focus on the other stuff.
I love
what are we doing with the first round draft pick? What are we going to do about Myles Garrett? The previous conversation that we had that comes to mind is that regardless of whether or not you think he's a great coach, Mike Tomlin leads the Steelers organization. They've only had 3 coaches in the last trillion years. There's stability, there's continuity, there's accountability, and there's a clear chain of command. There's a culture that he's instilled that is Steeler football, that Belichick did in Patriot, and the Patriot football and Patriot way. You hear about stuff like that all the time. And I'm not saying we got to be as good as Bill Belichick or have a coach that's been around as Mike Tomlin. But until you, like, gut the rot in the organization that is all of this shenanigans, whoever we put out there is going to struggle. And even if they have a good year, they're going to struggle to come back and be consistent. We saw it with Baker Mayfield, playoffs and then bust. Saw it with Deshaun and then Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco picked up the offense in 30 days and looked like a Pro Bowler, if not an all-pro. And Deshaun Watson still can't figure it out 3 years in. He can't even get his drop and his read right, let alone actually making plays. He's throwing balls 5 yards out of bounds. It's just a mess. I think the Browns actually do have a lot of talent. To you guys' point coming into the season about being optimistic about how many games they could win, it's because we actually had a good roster. But without a good front office, a good GM, a good system, and a good culture, there's only so much good players are going to do for you on the field if everything else is in chaos. So, yes, it matters whether or not we get a quarterback. Yes, there are some things I think we can do to actually have a decent season next year, but I thought that Stefanski had turned a corner with this front office. I thought it wasn't the same old Browns. And after reading this article, if even a third of it is true, they got a lot more to do. And I agree with you guys both. I think it starts with the Haslams, and you can't tell an owner to sell a team unless he does something overtly, crazily racist and stupid like we've seen it once or twice. But sucking at football and ownership is not going to make you sell a team. I don't know where we go.
Trying.
What'd you say?
Trying to force him
the city's trying to force it right now, to be fair. The drama continues. Me and Matt covered that on Monday.
What did you
Let me
guys
tell you,
think
excessively wealthy, rich white dude doesn't want to do something. Want to know where my money is on who wins that argument?
Oh, 100%. I'm with you, to be fair.
I'm curious what you guys thought of the part of the article where they were talking about how the playbook was really designed around Deshaun being under center. They wanted to make the play action more effective and have options there. And he wanted to be in shotgun. So that kind of rip up the playbook. I thought that was
the next thing I was going to touch on too. I wrote in my notes, Watson is selfish. They talked about in this article, and this was something that was touch based on, when everybody was vying to go get Deshaun Watson in the trade with the Texans, and we got to buy the fool's gold, and now here we are. was that him and Stefanski sat down and talked tape, and Watson was receptive of Stefanski's ideas and how Watson could fit in Stefanski's system. We pay him what, $250,000 or $250 million or whatever it ends up. Yeah, whatever it ends up mathing to. I wrote, and I quote, "Then he got the bag, said, nah, let me do my shit."
But to be fair to Deshaun, and I'm not trying to back the guy at all, but I knew a sports psychologist that talked about Olympic athletes, and he said that, take your top 10 Olympic athletes. They all have the exact same physical traits. Every single one of them could run the 100-meter in the same time, whatever. And it comes down to being between the ears. We had no idea. I mean, the physical traits are still there for Deshaun. Who knows how much that shoulder injury plagued the season, et cetera, et cetera. Set that aside. But he has the arm strength. He has all those tools he has always had. He's extremely athletic, but he can't make the throws. He gets happy feet. He doesn't feel pressure. He feels phantom pressure. It's all between the ears with this guy, and there's no fixing that.
Oh, 100%.
I agree 100% too. I love that analogy. A million of those type of people come to mind. This is a whole nother conversation for another day, but Vince Carter had the physical traits to be better than Kobe Bryant and on par with Michael Jordan and LeBron James. He had a good career, but he wasn't that. And everybody who knows the situation says, yeah, he didn't want to work all that hard at some points of his career, and he just relied on physical talent. I think the mental aspect of this is a big piece.
I loved watching him in the dunk contest, though.
Yeah, 100%. And the Raptors jersey modeled after it now? Yeah. Listen, something that I don't think we touched on, and correct me if I'm wrong. Did we talk about the Callahan stuff yet from this article?
No.
That is the biggest piece to me, because Bill Callahan is a godsend when it comes to offensive line football, scheming, making guys look good, getting the most out of the least, doing what Mike Tomlin is horrible at. Sorry, I had to. It was rumored. I was waiting for a chuckle or something at least.
Just can't help
yourself. Roll.
Okay. I was looking at my notes. It was rumored that if Alex Van Pelt stayed as the offensive coordinator, they didn't bring in Dorsey to tailor the offense around Deshaun Watson, and we saw how that went. If they kept Alex Van Pelt, Bill Callahan would have stayed. That's just crazy to me that we could have kept one of the best pieces in terms of this offensive staff, aside from the offensive coordinator and the head coach. And we decided, screw it. We'll go with the guy who just completely tore up his shoulder and hope that we could cobble it together for him. I want to know, they were talking about this master plan to protect Deshaun Watson's image and all of this. Was this the master plan to hide him in the media when it came to like full media practices and have him throw on the side and answer questions as lame duckly as possible? Because point blank period, this is the biggest failure I think I've seen this team go through in 24 years of life.
It's been one of the biggest in their existence. I think it was the plan, and I think what told us that was this, and I think we've talked about this a few times, but I was firmly of the mindset that said, if Deshaun Watson's your guy, cool. But Joe Flacco played in this offense so well. If he's going to play another year, it should be here as backup. Because A, Watson is probably going to get hurt, let's be honest. And B, even if he doesn't get hurt, he hasn't shown us that he can play well except for a half against the Ravens. Why would you get rid of him? It's because the mental little person that Deshaun Watson is between the ears doesn't want to hear people chanting for his backup 2 seconds into the season when he throws 2 picks and he's throwing 5 yards over people's heads out of bounds in the Cowboys game. So when they got rid of Flacco and brought in Jameis to say this gives us the best chance at winning, that was the biggest and first red flag for me to say, okay, this is a Deshaun Watson thing, because they're babying him and coddling him. And it's a shame that you have to do that when you're giving a guy 9 figures in terms of salary, guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm just so over this organization, because we talk about it stemming from the top, but going through all of these things, and we're in a rough patch. Where is ownership? Where is the president? I mean, why are these guys not taking accountability and out? I get it. They're a team that's it's owned, it's property. But where's the leadership that fans need and frankly players need? It's so baffling. And
to be fair, And I know you're pointing at the Haslams right now, and I think that's a totally valid criticism of this. But if you want to talk about people taking ownership of it, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry both had end-of-season press conferences where basically the both of them said, this trade blew up in our faces. We're moving back into another direction. We're sorry. We know that's not good enough. Take that as what you will. Take it too little, too late.
It is too little, too late. And by the way, throughout the season, I'll play Kevin Stefanski real quick. We just got to do better. I just got to do better. Like, for fuck's sake, man. I mean, the fact that players and fans alike agree that this is worse than the 0-16 season, enough is enough. I mean, I wish we could clear house with ownership. It's just so frustrating. And once again, we've talked about it before, but they're fighting fan apathy. You have us so excited about Ohio State for good reason, and they're fighting the exact opposite. You have us pissed off, mad, don't want to spend money. By the way, was it this year, last year? They called me. Finally, I could get my season tickets. I just ignore them because I don't want to buy season tickets right now. Are you kidding me?
No. And with the stadium on the minds of everybody and them having to figure out how to pay for it, this is a bad time to be bad.
Asking for public money right now, good luck.
Yeah, this is a tale as old as time with this team. And I just sit here and I wonder to myself, when is it going to change? Every time I think something's happening, we thought we saw it with Baker for a minute and then with Flacco. Before that, we had a Derek Anderson year. We get these little glimpses, even the Tim Couch, Kelly Holcomb year. Noah was probably 2. But all this stuff happened, and you're like, man, this is going to be great. This is going to be fun. And you get one little glimpse into what it's like, and then it's just 10 more years of abhorrent football.
Pain and misery.
And I just, one time I want it to be like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson and Bill Belichick and Bill Cowher's coming out of retirement just to coach the special teams, and the Browns go 15-2 and win a super, like, just go to an AFC, host a playoff game. That's
do anything. It's like the meme with the stick.
They've never had a playoff game.
Do something.
You know what,
gentlemen?
Have you guys ever seen a movie where, like, they just celebrate something big and they're laughing and they're backing into the street and then bam, they're smashed by a truck? That's the Browns. Like, that's the feeling every year.
Yeah,
we get 100%. A little bit of that taste of something nice, and it's ripped away.
Gentlemen, we could debate the Browns sucking for another hour, and it wouldn't even be enough because there's decades of futility that we would have to cover.
John, real quick before you wrap this, I got one question I want to ask you. We're not going to elaborate here so we can push it forward. I know you're trying to.
Yeah, go for it.
With how you feel in your stomach right now, what do you predict the Browns record to be in 2025?
Oh, God.
You're asking me?
First. Both of you. Yeah, I'm asking both of you.
Eric, you go first.
I would say the over-under is probably around 5 or 6 wins.
Yep.
Again, it's a team you just don't know. You make a move, you bring in a Kirk Cousins, and they're clicking. Like, you could see them making the playoffs, but at the same time, I've been
right
through
now.
this.
You got to shoot it. Just shoot it.
Right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll say 5 wins.
I'm with 5 wins right now as well. What about you, John?
2.
I want to continue this litmus test as we go through the draft and start buying into the Kool-Aid again and getting all excited.
No, this is actually this is maybe a perfect thing to do 30-second, like, based on what the Browns, like, once a month, based on what the Browns are doing now and what we know today, how many wins next season? And with no quarterback, Stefanski doing the, I guess I got better shit. Like,
I will say, if I hear one more time, any point forward from now talking about next season, John say, well, you guys said they would have 14 wins. I swear to God, it's going to be a 2-man show after that because we both said 5. I never want to hear that again.
We were all sipping the Browns Kool-Aid last season, and unfortunately, it blew up in our face. John,
the first time you've officially come off of that stance, Eric. I'm proud of you.